Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Friday, August 18th, 2017. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin was down 3.5% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 42.78, a high of 44.51, and a low of 42.24. Bitcoin bond launch brings digital currency one step closer to the world of high finance. A Japanese financial information company is announcing a Bitcoin bond. It's a way for you to invest in development of Bitcoin options and futures, and perhaps help the volatile digital currency become a better established asset class. Just one more sign that the big finance boys are here, and they're here for Bitcoin. What Bitcore users need to know to be ready for Segwit activation from the Bitpay blog. This is a very unfortunate announcement put out by the Bitpay team, because when you scroll down here, it suddenly says that your Bitcore full node should run Bitcoin 1 software from the Bitcoin 1 release page. And as you all know, Bitcoin 1 is actually the Segwit 2x Bitcoin, not the actual Bitcoin. Bitcoiners were very mad about this on Twitter. I'm just going to read their words. Peter Todd, spectacularly dishonest. Bitpay never mentions that they're talking about 2x rather than Segwit. Verges on fraud. Tur Demeester responds, or actually Taj Draya, one of the Lightning developers now at MIT, responds, Verges? Nah, this is straight up malware, trying to trick people into installing software which will result in a financial loss. Peter then agrees, on second thought, I'm changing my mind. What Bitpay just did is fraud. They need to take down their quote-unquote Segwit upgrade post immediately. And I agree. Bcash shows what Bitpay is doing could lead their users to getting tokens worth a tiny percentage of what they expected for Bitpay's benefit. Not a good blog post by Bitpay. And finally, Nicholas Dorer, Bitcoin developer and from NBitcoin and CTO at Metaco, says that he will provide a Bitpay-compatible API for those who want to keep Bitcoin payments deployed without using the Bitpay part. That's what happens when you mess with the internet. People write code to replace what you do. Bitcoin bear Peter Schiff doubles down. Even at 4,000, it's still a bubble. Nice to see he's sticking with it, but I think he's wrong on this one. And we've got photos from inside one of the world's largest Bitcoin mines. It's a Bitmain mine in Asia. It has 8 buildings containing mining machines. Look at the length of that hallway. Incredible to see all these machines together. And what an operation it must be. Constantly checking, constantly moving new machines in and out, cleaning the shelves. A fascinating look inside a Bitcoin mine. And finally, Bitcoin gains bipartisan support for legality in Australia. In Australia, they continue to discuss Bitcoin in their parliament, and they actually have parliamentary members who support Bitcoin and are actually calling for its legalization. While frequently we discuss the idea that Australia would begin regulating their exchanges, this goes a bit further, calling for total legalization and saying that there are no evidence for claims linking cryptocurrency with terrorist financing. No evidence. And that's it for today's news. We're also joined by Jimmy Song with a check of the current Bitcoin scaling. How's it going, Jimmy?
It's going great. Big news today is that because Bitcoin Cash's sudden price rise, it's almost doubled in the past 24 hours. It is now more profitable, at least from a technical perspective, just based on the straight mining reward, to mine Bitcoin Cash than Bitcoin, and that's by about 2%. Now, that doesn't take into account the fact that Bitcoin has larger fees. So you, as a miner, you're getting about 1.5 Bitcoins every block. So that isn't taken into account. So if you take that into account, Bitcoin is still more profitable by about 10%. But the other thing, the big thing is that Bitcoin Cash is catching up very quickly, and they are going to have a difficulty adjustment in about 4 days. Some other things to think about, block maturity is 100 blocks on both chains, but Bitcoin Cash blocks tend to be a little bit slower. So if a miner is mining on Bitcoin Cash, then they're going to have to wait like 1.5 days instead of 1 day that you would need for Bitcoin in order to be able to spend that Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash. And you obviously have a little less variability on Bitcoin Cash because it's a lot there's a lot less hashing power. But certainly this is something that bears watching, because if it's economically rational to go over to Bitcoin Cash, even with some of the disadvantages that you might have there, especially with regard to liquidity, and there may be miners that switch over, and we may see some interesting things that happen as a result of that. The other big story yesterday was the Trezor story. There was a hack that was a vulnerability that was disclosed that Trezor fixed with a firmware update. It involves sort of leaving in RAM the actual key. There's some claims about whether or not you can go get the private key just by plugging in the device, and having some relay or something like that can sort of sniff at a couple of things. There's a lot of information about that, including like 3 different blog posts by Trezor, including one that came out this morning. So please take a look at that. If you own a Trezor, there may be mitigations by adding a passphrase or something like that. I'm not even sure how to do that yet. I'm gonna try to do that after the show. KeepKey and Ledger have claimed that their devices are not affected, despite using a lot of similar hardware. So we'll have to take a look at that as well. But that also bears watching, because if you have your physical hardware wallet stolen, it may, if the hackers are right, that may mean that your Bitcoins are at risk. So be very careful, just with those. So that's something for you to definitely think about. I did write an article on the Bitcoin Cash thing on CoinDesk. So if you want to know more about the profitability and how that may affect the strategy for miners, that's something to read.
Thanks, Jimmy, for that report. And we always tell people it's important to hold your private key, but with the Trezor problem, it's really hold your private key. If you don't have physical possession of it, given the potential of that vulnerability, hackers could get right in. So as long as you hold your Trezor, you're fine. We'd like to thank everyone for watching. If you could give us a thumbs up and a share, that'll help more people find the show. If it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. We do these every day. And now we're joined by Tone Vase all the way from Russia. How's it going, Tone?
Hey guys, going good. I finally was able to make it. Like the time wasn't matching very well, but I made some time today. So here we go. Let's talk about the price of Bitcoin. The weekly chart, nothing's changed. This week is almost over. It's coming to an end. Today is already Friday, and we got 2 more days, and it looks like another positive week for Bitcoin. So it's all business as usual. So at this point, once this week ends, I will be looking for 4 more weeks of upside. How high are we going to go? Nobody knows, but I'm still bullish as I ever was on the weekly chart. The daily chart, while this is Bitstamp, so this is the one that gave us our profit-taking day a little bit later, a few days later. And yesterday I tweeted out this triangle. I'm going to maybe expand it a little bit more and give it 1 more day of cushion. So I did draw this triangle, and I tweeted it out yesterday that if we start going up above 4,400, and we did for a brief moment, but once we can close above 4,400 by the end of the day, I am looking for a $600 pop in the price of Bitcoin. Okay, so I am bullish from that point of view. What are we looking at? This is the hourly chart. I happen to be using the Bitfinex price, and from the hourly chart, there really isn't much right now. Let me see. I think I tweeted this out the other day. Let me just update my indicators. There we go. I believe the other day I sent this out where on this hour, the last time I did this video, I kind of called the bounce off of this 9 right here, and that seems to have worked out pretty damn well. We haven't yet fallen below it yet. And right now, the hourly chart does look a little bit bearish, but the hourly chart does whipsaw you around a lot. But the hourly chart is a bit bearish, but the daily chart and the weekly chart are leaning bullish. So overall, I'm staying pretty bullish with the price of Bitcoin.
All right, I'm a bull and I'm bullish. And I also wanted to mention on Jimmy's earlier story that KeepKey, the hardware wallet creator, was recently acquired by Shapeshift. So that's an interesting development. But we're running out of time. I'd just like to thank everyone for joining us. We'll be back here in just a few hours around 1 o'clock Pacific time for the Bitcoin group. And then later tonight, Jimmy Song might have a show, but we're not sure. We'll update you more on the time of that later. If you'd like to donate, we've got this Bitcoin address right here. If you'd like to use your credit card, we've got a link to our Patreon down below. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll be back soon unless they start the Defenders Marathon early, and then we'll be watching the Defenders like everyone else. We're out of time. Bye-bye.